Future directions, and we've said this in EU, and I'm saying it here, and I've said it publicly in all the town halls. We really do want to
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Sorry, I just had to do it.
We really
Sorry,
want
Matt.
to revive the chapter and project committees.
Poor Matt.
I'm lagging, I'm sorry. No, we
Take
really
your
do.
mic away.
We really, really do. And one of the things we talked about in EU that is actually very interesting to me, and when I came in or back to OWASP, whatever, as the community manager, it dawned on me that we call these things chapters, but there are chapters that are like Travis's chapter. That's a very healthy, vibrant chapter. Austin is a very vibrant, healthy chapter. But there are also chapters that are literally 7 people, right, with no money, and they're all chapters. And that doesn't make sense to me to call all these things chapters. We need a label or something for them, but I want to talk with chapter leaders to come up with some metrics or some kind of measurements to understand what kind of a chapter you are. We're a chapter that meets monthly. We're a chapter that meets quarterly. We're a chapter that meets twice a year. Well, you're not going to do that because Don will jump on you. But
we may change that if we find out we have 50% of our chapters who only meet once a year. We
might change that.
But we have to know it.
Yeah, we have to measure that to understand. And so I would love for the people who are in the room and not in the room who are chapter leaders to start thinking about what are the things that I would want to use to sort of measure, for lack of a better word, my chapter. Like, what are metrics that make sense? Frequency of meetings, how many people attend them, how many members do you have, like paid versus just walk-ins? All those things are very interesting numbers that I don't want to tell you what they should be. I'd really love the community to sort of rally around and tell me these things so that we can start, particularly for those metrics that I can automatically, I got you, don't worry. For those metrics that I can automatically measure, we'll start measuring them and put up a status of, chapter
We'll
status
set it
page or
up,
something.
and then you guys can criticize it, because that's always easier. Right? We'll set up our metrics, and then you guys can come back and say, oh, that's not true. That's not how that works.
Something you said I'm very excited about. I would love to know who are active members of the Bay Area chapter. I have no way of finding this out. I want to incentivize them. I want to give them, gamification, prizes, blah, 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 like all that stuff. And what I need is a way of knowing who those are at any given point.
Yeah, and full disclosure, that was in theory supposed to be handled by this AMS migration that we did, and that did not come to fruition. That was one of the things we were trying for, and one of the things that made this AMS migration unfortunate, because it was supposed to give us that ability, and that never surfaced.
So any of you that have skills in gamification and adding badges and things like that and stars to people, we'll welcome your input, because we want to set our system up in that way that we start remunerating and benefiting you. Like, just for coming to this meeting, we should scan you, and just for coming to this meeting, we should already be giving you like stars or badges or things like that. Well, no, that's not enough, because we want to track your involvement, and we want to then remunerate you furthermore into, different areas, whether you get a free ticket to something, or an extra ticket to something, or a free drink, or free training, or you can donate a free training, whatever it is. So anyone who has experience in that would be great. But yes, we want to make, my vision is that you guys have a chapter page, and you go in, Travis, and you see all your stuff going on, and you can leave messages, you can blog to your chapter, and people can join, and we give you also gamification for increasing your membership. That goes to the chapter. So if one of my goals is, and this is way off the track, sorry, Matt, is to increase the membership fee. And if we can increase the membership fee, then we can remunerate you back for generating more membership.
I love what you said. A lot of that is technically difficult, and I would love to just start with knowing at any given point who are the people that are active members of my chapter.
We will tell you that.
Yeah.
And their contact information.
I don't know about GDPR if we can do that, but yes, we can tell you who they.
I don't know if our systems know that.
Yeah, our system doesn't know that. Harold's giving me fairy fingers, so I'm going to have to give the mic to Harold. What are they called? Cheer
did we?
hands, cheer fingers, or whatever they're. Spirit fingers. Spirit. Somebody has a cheer.
I was just going to say that Tanya says that Paul, the new Ottawa chapter leader, is their minister of gamification and badgification.
Good to know.
Bring it on, Tanya. We want him. Help us.
Okay, and I think this is the slide we've all been waiting for. Yes, it is. So I was asked about what we could do to automate some of these admin drudgery, right? And unfortunately for projects, it's not the best story yet. But we have one of the things that we got by sort of centralizing and deciding on Meetup Pro, right? Because we started to move chapters into Meetup Pro, we now have an API that we can talk to. And we had someone from the community write a MediaWiki extension. So now if you drop a single tag into your wiki page and you're using Meetup, automatically all of your events and past events just get published. You don't do squat and your wiki's updated, which is really cool. And so if we could get some normalization around projects to where we have an API to talk to, that same thing could happen. And I would love to see that happen.
And what's also nice with Meetup Pro, when you go into our account, someone looks and you can see all the chapters that are there in one dashboard.
See if I can do live.
Matt didn't hear you.
I didn't hear you. I'm doing live demo,
Matt
which is
kind
really
of said
dangerous.
if only GitHub had an API.
If only GitHub, it does have an API.
I know that.
That's why you said it.
Wow, you really think much of your Should we get on the board and you think we lose all our brain cells?
Well, I was on the board, so I don't really want to answer that question. No, and that's something we can look at. Like if projects, I mean, we have really been, well, there's some interesting issues around that. I would like to see us have a more clean space for projects in GitHub, but yeah, but no, absolutely. Like, and if that, we could go totally meta and have a project to display project metadata.
Yeah.
Whoa. And actually, well, can I out
Arrow,
Biturja?
more work.
So one of the things that happened recently, and Harold will correct me if I say this not 100% accurately, is we had a company give us a substantial donation around a
We can
project.
announce it.
Yeah.
So first of all, we want to say, great job, Kelly Santa Lucia, just because I love to say Santa Lucia. But we want to thank our board member, Matt Conda, first of all, for pitching the ball forward and letting us hit it out of the park. And then I'll let Kelly and Matt and Harold tell us what happened with that ball.
You got to bring one of them the mic. In the meantime, that's the tag. You do this, and
We'll let Kelly tell us what happened.
this happens.
So we made a relationship
That's
with
it.
Allstate.
And it's
who
'cause they have an
donated
API to stand on.
$100,000 to the foundation over a 2-year period and is starting a chapter, and we'll be sponsoring the project talks at this conference on Friday. So if you guys pitch us the ball, we promise you we will hit it as hard as we can to get it out of the park. So if you have anybody that wants to start a project or wants to donate or believes in what we do here, which is really, really good stuff, send it our way. We'll do our very best to make you proud. Promise. Yes.
Yes. Whoop. And also tied in with that part or a focus for that money that is coming in towards projects will be, there's a company called Biturja, I don't know how to say it. You read it online. Who knows how to say it? Biturja. And they're an open source company that has an open source bunch of software, and they also do consulting. Go figure around that. But the net result is they have a Kanban dashboard that knows how to pull tons of project specific information out and surface it. And they do this for the Apache Foundation, for Nginx, a whole bunch of large MediaWiki, a whole bunch of large open source code bases they already do this for. We can hire them to do this for us. And now if you're an OWASP project, you all of a sudden get this magic dashboard of all this cool stuff, right? And that's been something I looked at 2 years ago, and we just never had the bandwidth or money to do, and now we do, which is super, super cool. So there you go. There's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel, I promise. Connections, Harold and I are working on ways to try to connect projects to chapters. This is super very early days, not even really POC thinking, but if there is any kind of ideas, we love them. Give us feedback. Maybe you could, like a chapter could team up with a project or have a chapter day where you use a project to provide feedback and GitHub issues even. I mean, as running a project, like GitHub issues are gold as long as they're good and not silly. But they really are good. Like, any feedback on your project is fantastic. Wow, I tried to install it on this, esoteric OS and it was really hard, and these are the problems I ran into. Okay, cool, now I can fix those because I didn't know about them. Like, those kind of things are super, super handy.
So Matt is a techie. I'm not. But what the Bay Area chapter does is they will allow project leaders to come and speak at their chapter meetings, and they will donate to the project. Great opportunities.
Yeah, which is awesome.
We really do want to reconnect the community all together. Projects are over here doing their project thing, chapters are over here doing their chapter thing. We need to come together. So we want your opinion too, because it was an idea that we had that we would do these little project summits at various regional events and allow people to come in and talk about their projects and find people to help them work on it. Maybe even set a goal for what we want to achieve for that project at that event. So we want your opinion, but we really think that there's huge, huge resources in regional events and chapters to support certain projects. And we'd love your input on how you think that might work. We want to try it and see where it goes. Not so sure that a huge project summit is the right direction for us financially and output-wise, return on investment-wise. But would love your input because we want to bring the community together. We don't want projects over here doing their project thing. We don't want chapters over here doing their chapter thing. We want to bring it together. And that's how the all-state thing gets going, right? When you guys get all together and you start talking about things and doing things together, that's where we get this leverage to capitalize on this experience and find other companies that want to invest in what we're doing. Yes, Travis?
I want to add to what you said. I think the chapters are doing great work. I think that the projects are what really make our brand. When you think of OWASP, what do you think of? The top 10, ASBS, all this stuff. Like, these are the things, Juice Shop. These are the things that are killing it for OWASP, and I really want to support the projects in any way possible. So, one thing we're doing is giving some of our surplus budget, but I would love to see more formalized, as you were saying, ways that we can collaborate, and I would be, all in for anything that you come up with in that space. So I'm excited about that. Thank you.
Awesome, yeah, us too. And I'm selfishly a project leader, so yeah.
And we thank you, Travis, because you're really contributing to the community.
No,
with
that
your
is really
Bay
a cool thing that you
Area
do
chapter funds.
to have projects come speak at your chapter.
Christian wants to talk. Why'd you give me the mic back? You should have kept it.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. So I just had. Hi, my
Yeah,
name
who
is-
are you? Where are you from? We stopped that, dang it.
My name is Christian. I am the volunteer coordinator today. That if you do need water, I will get it. Thank you. No, I just had a very simple question of how are we incentivizing this kind of I guess project. So like for growing chapters, there's a plan in place. For growing projects, there's a plan in place. But what about for really incentivizing those of us that do work at maybe very large companies that maybe do have budget? Is there some sort of framework that's being thought through of how we can, I guess, like strategically engage? Or is it kind of really just on those of us that are really engaged to just, I guess, push that conversation forward? And is there any thought to that?
So right now, it's a case-by-case basis. So we really just got pitched, hey, all states interested in a project, could you guys talk to them? That's where it went.
Okay.
So you work for EY, I hope I can say
Yeah,
that.
I mean, yeah. So like the follow-up with that to be like, yeah, for those, like I work at.
Deloitte's back there booing you, but that's okay. He might be an EY employee pretty soon, so who cares? But no, if you have a contact that you think could be beneficial for the foundation, we don't want you to be implicated negatively or positive. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable, but we would be happy to talk to them. We've done the same with other people and said, just give us a name. We'll reach out to them and talk about.
Especially for the Bay Area chapter where we've seen some success would be in some sort of way to have a framework that's saying that like, hey, look, if you are willing to either stick out your neck out or try to push that conversation forward to be able to get.
We will not let you down.
Yeah, something that either translates back to them or back to the chapter in a way that's like the gamification thing that you're talking about. A way that ties it back is like.
Absolutely,
your
we'll give
way
you
of
credit for it.
getting to your-
Absolutely, we'll give you credit for it.
So that's
Matt kind of got a ton of credit. He's going to do more work for us. Yeah,
Matt Conda, Matt Conda, Matt Conda, Matt Conda.
he's going to do a lot more work for us. He's already working on churning some others. So
It's like Beetlejuice.
absolutely, and you guys know us. So if you help us, we're going to take care of you. we're going to make sure that we do right by you, because it's all about the foundation of being one community. So, we don't want to take from you and not give back to you. We want to have from you that we can return back to you.
100% agree.
Okay.
I just think
So
that-
whatever you can do to help us to generate another all-state opportunity, we're all in. We're
And some
all
of
in.
this is just experimenting and figuring out what
And
works.
Tanya, I know you're online. We're all in, Tanya.
Okay, and not forgotten.
Smart.
I say this with dread. Look at Matt. Matt is now a sad Matt. Oh, I skipped a slide. Look at that. He's a happy Matt. Oh, he's a sad Matt? Happy Matt. Sad Matt? Happy Matt. Sorry, sad Matt. Website reboot. This is like pulling the proverbial Band-Aid off. Harold has done a whole bunch of work trying to reskin the wiki. That's part of many problems that are wrapped up in our web presence looking like it. My daughter says, oh, I thought you worked at MediaWiki. Like, oh, God. No, I don't, honey, and I'm really sorry. We do have a contractor that we've been talking with about trying to clean up particularly the structure and organization of the wiki. There's sort of many different issues with our wiki. Structure and organization is a pretty big one. But one of the things that makes this less easy to answer with one nice fail swoop is that because of the issues we're having with some of our Salesforce, and particularly the AMS on top of Salesforce, we're looking at ways to solve that problem, some of which include web front ends. And so if we pick a solution that is a web front end, then that becomes the front face of OWASP, and the wiki just gets some, prettification, and we keep it running on a different domain, or we keep it on triple-dub, and maybe OWASP.org is where the front face is. Trust me, I want to solve this problem. Good Lord. I mean, if nothing else, my daughter will stop giving me crap. But we are working on it. It has not been forgotten. And then Discourse, I know. I'm looking at you, man. I'm sorry, I said I would do it this fall, and then we lost a staff member, and I didn't get to work on it. And I'm very sad, but now, once this conference is
We
over
lost
with.
you, Matt.
What?
We lost you and Tiffany.
Well, no, we lost Laura, and I was going to this fall,
Oh.
hopefully start working on Discourse, but that kind of got blown away.
Matt
But,
became a meeting planner.
yeah, but now that, once this conference ends, that is my thing. That is the hill I'm going to die on between now and 2019, because I really want to turn off Mailman, if not take it behind the barn and beat it with a stick for a few hours. Because I'm tired of Mailman. Yes. Woo! And some of the
Mailman
nice
is
things,
dead.
some of the nice things about Discourse, it has an API, radical thinking. It has a UI that looks like it came from this century. It also will allow us to do things like give moderation to chapters. They all have their own little area inside of Discourse where they can do whatever they want to do as a chapter. You have a chapter bit of Discourse or a project bit of Discourse. That's your area. You want to turn on comments, not turn on comments, whatever you want to do. It all happens there. It also has a badging system. So we can actually give you I'm an official OWASP member badge when you chat or do forum stuff on Discourse, right?
My guess is we can kind of link it to a gamification process at some
That's
point.
kind of the idea, yes. So I really want to get Discourse started. That just has to happen. Because that I think will be, it'll be nice, if nothing else for me. I'm so bloody sick of Mailman. Other operational notes, just kind of letting you know what's going on. For quite some time, a particular host, cough, Rackspace, was donating cloud computing to us. Then they stopped that donation. May or may not be timed coincidentally with them going private. And so I have been moving resources off of there. We have a couple, one of them being Mailman that I want to kill, still on Rackspace Cloud, and we will move those off. And in doing that, I'm doing things like we had a couple old WordPress sites, and I now have a process to take those old WordPress conference sites and staticify them and put them on a cheap, simple, DigitalOcean host, because what the hey. And then as I'm doing this work, I'm Ansibleizing the stuff I'm doing so it's repeatable, which is quite nice. We started using Hootsuite, so we have a little bit better social engagement. In fact, I used Hootsuite to tweet and LinkedIn-y thing about this thing. And then staff upgrades. One of the things that was really interesting we talked about, and I'm a problem child, right? Because I'm a project leader and I'm on staff and I have an @OWASP.org account. And so how do you distinguish, and this is just sort of an interesting technical thing, how do you distinguish me as an Matt the OWASP person versus Matt the staff, and how do you know an email is coming from staff if everyone has an @OWASP.org? So we got OWASPFoundation.org, and we will start moving staff into that domain name, so now you know you're talking to a staff member if they come from @owasfoundation.org as opposed to @owas.org. And we're rolling out LastPass across all of the staff as well too, which is part of GPR and just part of the right thing to do.
Hey, just put it,
Yeah.
you did acquire the right domain.
Oh,
Just saying,
yeah, my typing isn't all that awesome.
Yes, we did, but you lost it.
Actually, I acquired that one, the misspelled one, and OWASP sucks, just in case. Yeah, my typing was correct on that one, yes. I'm actually using one of those accounts right now, and it works.
Is that the Australian OWASP Foundation?
Foundation? Yes, free Vegemite with every membership. I set up a business account for staff because we were using one shared account, and it was kind of a pain in the wazoo, quite honestly, and we have now the OWASP official credit card is in there, and they can just buy things, and that just sort of smooths out operational wrinkles. I'm looking at, I'm reviewing GoToMeeting alternatives, because honestly, I think what we're paying per month is more than we should, and there's cheaper, better alternatives. I hope to have that done this year. Yeah,
The GTM
yes,
we currently have,
yes.
I'm not sure if it's just us, but when we're having our meetings to plan AppSec Cali,
Mm-hmm.
we're hitting a limit on occasion, the number of concurrent users, and that goes.
That might be another
You can have
motivation
up
to
to
leave.
250
I'm-
users, so that's shocking. But GTM is not
Yeah.
reliable, not consistent, and I had
Yeah,
major
that's-
problems getting on it today.
What was shared with me many years ago by Kate, that we're using a limit of 26 concurrent users.
Yeah, the limit is way low. I mean, that's not modern technology. Yeah, no, that's one of the motivations, honestly, for me wanting to move, besides other things and cost. Yeah.
Well, what I was trying to say is, I think there's some issue, because I can't believe GoToMeeting is limited to that limit.
That's also tied into licensing.
It does on the older package, it limits to 25. Now, if you buy like even the middle one, it's 150 users. But as of the point in time that we have a request, it's not obvious. Can we increase that until we move?
Oh, I'm gonna move before the year is over, so if you can wait till January, it won't be an issue. Well, or talk to me after the event, and you can beta test the one I want to switch to.
How long are your meetings? An hour?
Yeah. Well, talk to me. Honestly, talk to me afterwards, and you can beta test the new one. I need someone to test it, and that's great. I mean, I've used it at my last two employers. Cough, it's Zoom, and it works really well. So, like, if you want to be the first one to test Zoom, I'll set up an account right when we get done with this conference, and you can be our beta test.
Buy him an account.
Yeah.
Done with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by beta test. Like,
Profit that AppSec Cali makes here.
yeah, we can do that. That can be sorted.
We plan on breaking even.
All right.
I hope you break even. I like your break evens.
One of the other things I've been doing is researching platforms that will allow us to handle multiple regional events in one platform. So we have something like event.owas.org that just handles events. Yeah, I've been looking at that. I found some that are kind of good, but some that have wrinkles. I haven't found one that I haven't gotten it down to a short list. Once I get a short list, I'll let the community know. But that's something I'd really like to figure out, to just sort of, yeah, to remove those operational wrinkles from running an event. And just honestly, selfishly, it would be nice to have one single thing instead of N things.
As long as you can have decentralized administration.
Well, that's an absolute must. I have to have from my perspective, the foundation has to have a break glass access, right? At the end of the day, we need root. But I'm more than happy to delegate a chunk of that, resource to an event, in this case, right? And another chunk to a different event. And they're ideally isolated. Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't look at a system that wouldn't let us do that, because that's a fail. You have a scuba mask and it's leaking. You're doing it to me. Why are you asking me? Oh, we should take pictures?
Well, we are making a
videotaping
video copy of it, and we are recording it.
Oh, well, we can take a group picture after this. I'm game.
Yeah, we can take a group picture.
Um,
Thank you, Owen.
in the really sexy world of Matt, I'm looking at insurance providers. And like I said earlier, I'm looking at trying to simplify all these kind of disparate experiment that we didn't decide if we wanted to keep or not services, so that we have a few simple services that we all can understand. Because unfortunately, right now, we sort of have to be really good at Meetup and really good at Eventbrite and really good at Reg Online, and then there's 4 accounts of each, and it's operationally not real clever, and it doesn't scale. Challenges. Yes.
Meetup's horrible, by the way. Like,
We agree.
it's so bad. Like, for the use that I have, which is like, hey, here's this thing, and like a lot of people sign up, cool. But then I have no way of easily validating like how many of the people actually signed up. And so what we get is this situation where 200 people will say, yeah, we're going, and then 100 people show up. And so the hosts have no idea how much food to order. And there's no incentive like built in, like no tracking of like. who
Sounds
signed
like
up.
AppSec global events.
So,
Wait, Trev, that's more an issue of the fact that they're free events. You're gonna have that no matter what.
There's no,
As long as it's free, you'll have at least 30% no-shows. But it's
Yeah.
not the no-shows he's talking about, it's the tracking of it.
Yeah, the tracking.
yeah, so one thing I have heard, one thing I have heard is some chapters sort of do a combo of Meetup plus Eventbrite. So they advertise on Meetup, but you actually register for the event on Eventbrite, and then you have much more granular looking at who did what when. You still have no-shows. So we're not going to. That's like getting rid of the spam problem. Like, yeah,
that's behavioral issues that we can't compensate for.
In Los Angeles, 30-40% play traffic.
But what we would like as OWASP is we would like to know who's coming that's a member, because we want to improve our gamification, and we also want to know who's coming who's not a member. So there are a lot of meetups happening where we don't even know who's coming. We don't know who is members. We don't know who's not a members.
yeah.
So we want to capitalize on your success, because that will grow OWASP. So as soon as we can set up a system where we know who the non-members are and who the members are and how many members come on a frequent basis, we can give them extra badges or stars or gamify them and elevate them to very active members versus inactive members. And then we can also convert non-members into membership. So we have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, this is not a OWASP problem.
Yeah.
This is hey, does anybody have the meetup?
Another software suggestion or a meetup solution.
In Chicago, we would typically hold the meetings at places where there were like registration.
Yeah.
So even if you did a meetup, you still had to show an ID and get your name checked off as you come into the building.
Yeah.
And so then you knew exactly who actually came. But that's a manual.
We could use
that's not a solution,
Eventbrite.
it's just another
We
way.
could use Eventbrite too. You just need a staff person, and then they just, check the person in, and we know from Eventbrite, we can ask the question, are you a member or not a member? And they can check that, and then we can kind of track things from there, and then you guys can look at the data and look at who, does Mike Smith always sign up and never show up? You can look at that.
That's another problem we had. We had a raffle for AppSecUSA tickets, and we said, hey, honor system, please only sign up for this if you're a OWASP member. And I don't really have any way of validating, by the way, so it's like, honor system is the best I can do. I know we already mentioned this, but I'm just saying, like, the visibility of like who's members, who's showing up is like something I think there's a massive amount of ability that we can improve the current process.
100% agree.
We could have twice as many members if we could actually tap into who's coming to your meetings. So we
Yeah.
need to work together to find a solution to make OWASP a great foundation, increase membership, and also provide you with the information to be successful as a chapter. Julian, from the Australia chapter.
What are the incentives of becoming a member?
Julian just asked, what are the incentives of becoming a chapter or the member?
So
You were gonna talk about challenges, sounds like that's a.
that's a challenge. So
is a
here's the
challenge.
thing, first of all, we're an open source community. We offer all these great open source projects, all this great access to education, YouTube channels, everything's open. If you are working in cybersecurity today and you're not tapping into OWASP, you're a fool. So we're not asking for you to think about OWASP as a foundation that's giving you benefits, because we're exploding with benefits. We're asking you to come in as a member, donating to the foundation so that it can continue to make you great. So that's the perspective I'd like you to take. It's $50. I know. And I can tell you, when I did give that speech at DEF CON or Black Hat, people throw money at me. Because it's never been it's a mind shift. We're a foundation, we're a nonprofit, we do a ton of great work. I mean, where would you guys be without the top 10? Where would you guys be without Zap?
More insecure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where would you guys be? Where would you guys be without these great talks, these great training programs, this YouTube channel, these chapter meetings where anyone can come and learn and understand the culture of safety and information security and what it means to work in this industry? You are the frontline military of today, right? And OWASP is funding this to make sure that people know and understand what it means to be a secure culture. So my suggestion to you is, it's not what can I get from you, but I believe in you, I use you, I'm a part of you, and I want to contribute to you. Now, we do want to increase member benefits, and we want to offer members more and more things, but we're not at that point today, and at $50, I think that my phraseology and my mentality is reasonable to expect that that would convince people, yeah, you need to be a member. Travis.
I totally agree with you. I suggest actually we scrap membership benefits as a thing, and we just go with the straight EFF model. Like, we are, doing good in the world, and you should absolutely support us for $50 a year.
We want to raise that, but we'll talk about that with the new board.
We got one other question.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, your speech there is, it's so much resemblance of JFK, but, I don't know.
Woo! Female forum back.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, I have with the Charlotte chapter, my membership is low. But simply, and the reason why is just, I have members that's been there, that's been coming for years, never become or lead up attendees that never become members, okay, and been coming for years, and then I says, join, be a member, and they say, why? Okay, so that's the.
I will create a video and you can run it. But my point is this, we have to empower you to generate membership, and we're not empowering you. So we as a foundation owe it to you as chapter leaders who have chapter meetings to provide you with the materials and the information necessary to convince people as to why the donation of membership is valuable to them. And so we haven't done that for you. And maybe you're uncomfortable because you might not, I'm a salesperson. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy to talk about why you should be a member, and I don't have any hesitation asking you for money. But many of you may not feel comfortable that way. So we have to provide you with the materials to talk about membership. So we're going to talk a lot about chapters and regional events and how important it is for regional events and what some of the guidelines are. We want you to talk about OWASP. We want you to talk about the foundation. We want you to talk about membership. Membership is a commitment to a culture and a mentality of safety and security. That's what it is. That's what you guys do. You guys are the military. We're not battling on the ground anymore with guns. We're battling through computers, right? So you guys are doing everything necessary to protect us, and people ought to want to throw money at us for what we're doing and saving them from. People who work on red teams who have never been members, who've used our top 10, they come by at DEF CON like, I could not survive without you. Sorry. Travis.
I love everything you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think that we don't have membership benefits. So there's a difference between a membership, like it's something I sign up for every year, like Costco or whatever. Yeah, and a donation. Like donation, I understand what that is. Like there's a great cause, I'm giving money to this thing. And membership is like, oh, am I really getting like, benefits to justify this amount I'm spending every year?
More of like a supporter.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's what I think we are as OWASP is like, hey, we're fighting the good fight, support it with your money versus, a membership, which is like, oh, what am I actually getting? I have an email address. That's cool. Yeah.
You got a friend behind you who's wanted this question.
Maybe we need to do some membership campaigns like YouTube videos so that, chapters can play like 2-3 minutes before the chapter meeting. So like an awareness video, something like that.
I would love to do that, fund like a professionally, nicely done video that you can play for 3-5 minutes at the front of your chapter.
So
That'd be
yeah.
rock and roll.
So Matt and Dawn are going to come up with all these great new products for you guys as leaders.
Wow.
They're going to create how to create regional events. They're going to create how to introduce membership to your chapter meetings. They're going to do all kinds of cool things for
They'll be
you guys.
terminal based and with VI bindings.
But yes, it's exactly right. I mean, when we, John McCoy is my best buddy, and I would not have survived DEF CON without him. Stand up, John McCoy. He designed the DEF CON t-shirts.
Yep.
He worked in the booth tirelessly. He introduced me to DEF CON attitude and mentality. They probably would have shut us down and kicked us out if I had shown up in my suit. And so yeah. And so when we stood there and people came up to us and they were like, oh my gosh, I use this software, I use this project, I couldn't do it without you. Here's $100, can I have a t-shirt? It totally hit my heart. You guys are great. You do wonderful, wonderful things for us. Well, not for me because I'm not a techie, but for all the guys that walked by in the mass community of DEF CON. And without OWASP, where would these people go? Who would they talk to? What would they do? What would they do without the top 10? So yeah, it's a contribution to a belief in a concept of security and safety that is very, very necessary and that OWASP is in the forefront of doing. And so we have to work together to stay in front of it, stay ahead of it, produce greater top 10s, produce greater projects, produce greater educational opportunities, continue to enforce the chapters to create more regional events, to enforce chapters to bring in speakers that are like revolutionary, where people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I've learned so much here. I want to be a part of this foundation. And maybe we have to change the verbiage or we have to add benefits. One or the other, but we have to do one or the other.
Yep.
And then we have to stand behind what we're saying we're doing. And you guys are the greatest community of all to do that.
Yeah, we are.
Woo!
Is there a member price for AppSecUSA?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So regionally, we have no way to tap into any database that was a member. So we'd love to be able to offer a member price, but so we have to be able to tap into the database to verify membership. So have someone log in.
We can work on that because that's
Yeah.
that's
That was the thing we
software
were-
possible. Yes.
Yeah, that was the thing we were
That's
trying
the
to
invite,
address with the
he-
AMS.
yeah.
We need to know.
Yeah.
So this is Matt Conda. In case anybody doesn't know, this is Matt Conda. He's a board member.
So I just want to present a counter example for that. Like, I'm not saying. I'm sorry. I just want to present a counter example for that. In the past, there have been people who have access to lists of OWASP users who then email those lists and add them to group emails, right? And so obviously we need to be able to prevent that, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Like commercial services.
Abusing the lists, not just the like I'm sending to the whole list, but I have every email in the list because I had access at one point in time to the list, right? So we can't just give you access to all the people. No, what I'm talking about, sync it with the API or link it.
Yeah.
So totally, if someone wants
Yeah.
to sign up, they have to
So-
go against the back-end verification.
So we had 3 board members here, and I'm really, really sorry because that's really my job. So we have Matt Conda here, we have Owen Pendlebury, and we had Sharif Mansour, who's not here anymore, who was also a board member.
Martin was here too, yeah.
And Martin was here, but he walked away. But so Matt is you're from Texas now, right? And Owen is from Dublin, which I love. I love the bars in Dublin. It's all about just like getting to know each other and being happy with one another. So
So I guess I just actually heard Kelly saying that you use Eventbrite, so maybe you can use the foundations. What was it? What's the foundations one? So
Salesforce.
the registration side of things. So if you use that, then it would be based on the badges. So, but not the Eventbrite, but like what was the one?
For this conference, we use Salesforce and Reg Online, but I would not recommend it because it's been nothing but a major headache. Just Salesforce.
This ties in nicely to an important subject that's been hit on heavily in the list discussions. I haven't seen you mention it yet, maybe you're planning on it. That's the reestablishment of a lot of these committees.
Oh, you missed that bit.
Challenges
Oh, you're gonna make me go
and
backwards.
opportunities. Revive the chapters of Project.
Bullet, I mean, like officially launching it.
We are going to do that in
Yeah,
2019.
we had to get past this thing. I mean, I didn't have bandwidth for anything but this.
That announcement to officially kick them off.
Yeah, 2019,
Yeah.
January.
There's plenty of people who want to do it.
Good.
So
We will, we
Yeah.
will. So the committees we think are great are chapters, projects, global conferences, because we want help with developing different educational programming, restructuring the tracks, who we should go after.
They'll put together a how-to which will include your
We can't do anything without the community. We are nothing without you guys. We know that. We're an open source community. We are nothing without you.
let's do this.
So we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to revise. We're looking at the committee 2.0, which needs a little bit of revisation because it conflicts with the bylaws. So we want to make sure that they're both congruent and working in the same direction. And then we're going to set up our committees and we're going to take off like a rocket. Absolutely.
Anyone listening to this,
Join a committee.
if you want, but if you want to recommend a certain committee that hasn't been mentioned, that you think is important.
Yep.
Tell us.
Yeah, go,
Bring it up.
go to the town hall. We have a Google Doc. If you have an @os.org, it's open to you to edit. If not, like request edit, and I'll give it to you and add those committees you want to see there. I mean, I like I was talking about the chapter and the metadata around chapters. I don't want to like sit back in as a staff member and have the magical Matt moment where I decide these are the ways to measure chapters. Like I'm not in the weeds like you guys are. I want you guys to do that. And if there was a chapter committee, I would say, hey, chapter committee, help me work on this. What are the things that chapters do? And I think we need that kind of way to focus some voice of people that have experience, in the trenches. So to
So I
speak.
had this crazy concept of changing the name to committee, community committee. So it includes chapters, which is the community, but also addresses community motivation and community drive. It's up to you guys. This is your foundation. We just work here, and we want to support you. So
In line with what you're saying, could the foundation, I know you guys are swamped, but can you at least build a place where people can
We will.
congregate?
we
Yep.
will.
Yeah.
Let us get through this week. We have 2 more days, and then we're
Yeah.
rocking and
Yep.
rolling. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow plus.
That's a typical New Yorker. That's a typical New Yorker. Just do
Yeah.
it tomorrow. Yeah, I'm talking to you. He's a New Yorker.
All right,
All right.
let's drive this guy home. So challenges, what to overcome to further our mission. So we talked about OWASP, we talked about what we're working on just to try to make the mission better. Let's talk about some challenges that we saw, and this is what I covered in the last 4, actually, town halls. This is the 5th, about challenges we see from the foundation perspective. One OWASP, and this is, there was a thing, this was years ago, depending on how long you've been around OWASP, there was OWASP stands for open. I also think OWASP stands for one. There's one OWASP, we're one community. And Karen has kind of alluded to this, where we sort of have a silo-y chapter and a silo-y project world, and I think we just need an OWASP world. And I think in some regards, the ship is a listing a slight bit to starboard or port. I was never good with ships, and probably not with spelling apparently either, at least domain names. But I think we're a little bit off balance. We want to sort of talk about how we can sort of regain that balance and start chugging away. Gene Kim quote, "A great team doesn't mean that they had the smartest people. What made those teams great is that everyone trusted one another. It can be a powerful thing when that magic dynamic exists." And I've seen that a few times at OWASP, and it is truly, truly magical. It really is. It's amazing. And we can do that. Yep.
Well, and tied into that, in a tribute to the Queen who passed away this year, RESPECT, respect.
Yep.
Passionate conversation, but respect
Right.
for everybody.
Yep.
That goes a long
And
Amen.
this is why I sniggered when Dawn said, when Karen said I was going to do something creative. I had this idea, and I talked to Harold, and luckily Harold can do graphics, and he made this nice logo for us, because you don't want to see my graphics. They're black and white and have terminal fonts. They're not pretty. But this, I think, is a big thing. Like, we need to be one OWASP. And this was an awesome email from a chapter leader that happened actually the day before the first town hall. And I had helped him with some problem. I honestly don't remember what it was. It was something amiss, and we fixed it. We dug into it and resolved the issue. And in responding back to me, he said, "No need to thank me. We're all working to make OWASP great again. As a brand new chapter leader, I'm a bit surprised about all the discussions going on, but I'm happy to put in some work to make things great again. And this is really what is the heart and soul of OWASP. We have people that are very, very willing to do the work to make us great again. And that's why I'm here day in and day out.
Can I take exception to that term, great again?
Smooth again.
We are great. People just don't know how great we are.
Yes.
Say get better.
No. We are great. There's no doubt about it. We are great. But
We
we
can
have
just be
never
greater.
communicated how great we are, at least in the last 10 months I've been here. We need to change that. We need to shout it from the rooftops of all the great things that we do as a foundation here.
Yep.
People do not know how fabulous their life is because of OWASP, and how protected and how secure things are because of the great men and women here who work for all these great companies and protect whatever it is they have to protect and test and investigate vulnerabilities. So we are very great. We just don't communicate it. So we need to communicate it, and we need to think it, and we need to believe it, and we need to treat each other as great people and not use negativity and criticism, but productivity and positive, forward-moving thinking ideas to help us grow and move forward. Who cares what happened in the past? Who cares who hurt you? Who cares what happened? That's not going to move us forward, people. Let's help each other. We have people that literally walk away from contributing to OWASP because of the negativity in the mailman's list. We don't want that anymore, right? We want these guys in here. We want this room twice as big next time we meet. Twice as big, because we want you guys all engaged and a part of a great, great community.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So OWASP is one community.
We
and
all
it's-
have stars on our bellies.
We do all have stars on our bellies, for those who are Seussian. So let the voices be heard. And this is one thing I think we're trying to work on. We did this with the town halls. We're trying to engage the community more. We want to do this with the committees that we're going to launch right after this event. Member meetings that we've been doing for a long time now at the AppSec conferences. Those were great, but those only, really are useful to the people that are physically in this room. We do have some remote people, which is cool. And we think we get a ton of support and outreach through the regional events. Like, how many did you count? What was that? It was 20.
So we measured 25 regional events, and over the last 3 months, we've done 17. That equals to about 150 to 200 different sponsors that Kelly herself has been contributing to and supporting. Does not include AppSec Global.
Yeah, so this is like
So we
incredible
have 40,
awesome outreach.
40, 50 different sponsors here included into that. So yeah, that's a lot of work. And we want to help you. We want you to get your money. We want you to have your great events. We want you to be successful. And yeah, Julian and I had long talks. Just do it, Julian. Take it. Take it. Just tell me about it after you've done it.
Just don't put that on a t-shirt because Nike will sue you. Financial challenges. And this is a Warren Buffett quote, kind of makes sense with our financial challenge. Chains of habit are too light to be felt until they're too heavy to be broken. And I think we made some decisions that probably made sense at the time that we need to revisit and think about now because things have changed. We're not the OWASP we were, in 2014, was that 4 years ago? I can't do math, I'm tired. So much to do, so little dollars, at least as of the first town hall on September 14th. We had 3 months of operating cash. I think that hasn't really changed marginally much at all.
That's been true for like indefinitely.
It has been true for a ridiculously long period of time. That is a great point. And we need more staff to better serve the community because we're buried, quite honestly, and I don't mind working really hard for all you guys, but I want to do better, and we just can't push any more water through this pipe. And we get kind of stuck in this situation where we know we need to get things done, and we have to choose between time or money, and we don't have a lot of money, so of late, we just have to choose time, and I have to make you guys wait. And I don't like that. I don't think anybody on the staff likes that. So we really want to address this problem and solve it for you guys. Yes?
Tap the community for that. There's a lot of work, that I mentioned this in the board meeting earlier, but there's a lot of chapters that would like to have money that don't have it because they have no exposure to AppSec Cali or AppSec, USA or anything like that, but they're willing to put in the work.
Yep.
So, pay them for the work. But essentially, take some of the money that the foundation gets and allow them to earn that money by doing work for OWASP.
That could certainly be done, although right now our margins are pretty darn tight operation capital-wise. Like, most of our money is, actually, well, you saw that slide previously. We have an
We don't have
operation
any
deficit.
money. We're at a $500,000 deficit.
Money to any chapter that's willing to do work to help OWASP.
That's awesome. I mean, that's I think that's
Well, and that's
fantastic.
exactly what we need to do. We need to take the chapter funds and reallocate and have you guys, it's your money, reallocate how you want to utilize those funds so that we can better lift the foundation. So we have this $1 million sitting out there that we ourselves cannot touch. We have to touch it. I've called many of you who are involved in the foundation and have the majority of the funds to tell you we're using your funds, because I don't think that's ever happened. And so I felt very obligated as your executive director to tell you, hey, I know we've done this in the past, but I want to tell you personally, we're using your funds to pay our bills. Imagine you work for a company, and we have staff in here, we're staff, where your company said we have 3 months to pay our bills. We have $2 million or $1.5 million sitting over here we can't touch, but we have 3 months to pay. It's not a good feeling for us. It doesn't feel good to work in that environment. It doesn't feel good to call you guys and tell you I have to use your money to pay our bills because of the decision that was made many, many years ago. So we have to come together as one unit and say, okay, what's important to us? What do we want to achieve? And where do we want to go from here? And what does that look like? And yes, there will be some changes that are not as comfortable as you'd like them to be, but there's also a trust level that we have to get into and say, look, we trust you to be good stewards of the money that you have and that you will not delete what we need to function as a very viable and very creative and very dedicated chapter. So we've got a balance that we have to make, and we have to look at this $20,000 and find out what we can do. We have that money sitting out there. We can't touch it, really. I mean, we can, but we don't do it out of respect for you guys without talking to you. But we have to find a way to cover our costs and to also ensure that the foundation is growing and sustainable and being what it needs to be for the industry and for the community.
Yeah.
William.
Question.
So, William, where are you from?
Texas.
Woo.
But I'm a member from Texas, member of Bay Area. Have we looked at the way we approach branding of OWASP, historically open web application security, and knowing that we want to branch outside of AppSec? If you talk to, I talk to my colleagues, I talk to people in the security community, and say, hey, you should come out to OWASP, and they're like, oh, I don't do AppSec.
Right.
I think if we did, I don't know what the strategy or the plan is for the future, like 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, of branching outside that. The security community is small, but it's large, and if we can do a better job around going outside of just AppSec and branching into just security in general, I came to OWASP to give a course on AWS security. It's
Right.
not app security, it's infrastructure security.
Yep.
But lots of people are interested. I think if OWASP had a better brand around just security in general, product security, that you would get more members, more money, more donations, and potentially we could break through this 3-month barrier.
Yeah, there's the reality of our name and the reality of what's really happening. Because
Here's the
I
way.
remember, back when I still lived in Austin, which was 7 years ago, we're having malware analysis talks at our chapter. And I've had chapters ask me, we have this guy who wants to talk to us, but he really does binary reversing. Is that okay for OWASP? I'm like, is it security related? Yes, have it at your chapter. Are people going to show up? We don't care. We're all about making software better. And I agree, our marketing is kind of unfortunately tagged to our name with the whole W thing. That's probably a longer conversation on something we're not going to solve here. But yes, I absolutely agree. Our brand could be way more broad, and because honestly, functionally, we are. Look at the tracks that are at this conference this year. That's not just all narrowly focused on AppSec-y things, right?
So
yeah,
that
absolutely.
is a great opportunity that we have, that we're really specific and we really know our shit, but people don't know, that they can belong to this. And so we've had long conversation with developers and other people who are like, well, I kind of didn't know if I belonged, if I could come in, if these guys will embarrass me. I don't really know application security, but then they fit in. So we wrote a strategic plan for the foundation that has been on the board meetings for the last 4 months. And we encourage you to come online, check the wiki, look at what we're proposing for board meetings, look at our strategic plan. It talks about brand and image. And the reason I wrote it, and I'll be very open and transparent, is because I wanted to hear from the community, who are we and what should we be? And you just said it.
Yep.
So I need that input. We need that input as a board. We need that input as a staff. Who are we and what should we be, so that we can communicate it back out to the community, and we can also structure the foundation to address those needs. So you're absolutely right. We need to be more open. We need to be more accessible from people who are not application security specialists. And we need to find a way to talk to them so that they feel comfortable coming in, and we can expand our footprint, so to speak. Absolutely, without a doubt.
We had a question over there, and then we have
Oh,
one over
yeah.
here.
Let me take the mic to you. Thank you, William. You brought up a good point. Who are you? Where are you from? Come on, baby.
Lee from St. Cloud, Minnesota. I wanted to support what Travis said. I know that you guys got a lot of work. If you could identify what you can outsource to us that's not so, say, important.
Yep.
Sorry.
It's all important.
It's not important. It's not urgent. Something that you feel that, we can do it, so you can just pass it to us, and I'm sure Travis over there wouldn't mind giving us a bit of his donation. So I'm all in for that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm really hoping, and why
Okay.
we really want those committees in particular, because I think that's a way that we can sort of, it's hard for me to say, hey, all chapters, but if there's a chapter committee, I can say, hey, chapter committee, go out to the chapters, round up these people and figure out what are the, like for my instance, metrics that we can measure chapters by. What are the dimensions that make up a chapter, right? And that's fantastic. Same with the like GitHub and API and automation. If that's something projects really want, let's have a project committee, knock around that idea and think it through. And then I can operationalize that once we have a plan. But like the planning stuff takes time, and I'd much rather hand that off to volunteers who are in the trenches anyway.
So, St. Cloud, Minnesota has stepped up to the plate. You better swing hard and get a big bat.
Yeah, Julian, and then we got Avi.
Julian?
I know, it's fun. It's like a marionette.
So I'm just going to make a point to William's question before. Sorry, we've been running AppSec Day mainly targeted towards developers and security people, obviously, but they're easy to get along board. We've been running lockpicking workshops at AppSec Day for the last 3 years, because that's super popular and they love it. And also anything infrastructure, cloud, anything related to what a developer is doing these days, which is basically DevOps, which is everything. So I don't think we more worded around that OWASP is product security related, so anything to do with QA, all the way down the stack. So that's kind of how I picture it and pitch it in Australia anyway. But I get the same confusion. It's web app only kind of branding is a bit hard to budge from some people.
Yep.
When you look at it, it's like software security, not just about web application security.
Yeah.
So software is in everything that's including hardware. So we're kind of focusing on the same thing.
Yeah, and Barbie. Barbie has software.
Security culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Avi had a question.
Oh, sorry, Abby.
Yeah. A puppet master.
I'm Avi from Israel. I just wanted to put I just want to put a point on something. You seem to agree with Travis, but it seemed like you were saying different things. You said we're going to take this money from the chapters because we need it, and Travis was saying, well, we actually have extra budget that we don't need, and we're happy to invest in something else. It feels like different things.
So,
which are we talking about?
well, part of it is just operationally, we have funds earmarked for chapters and we don't have operating cash. We're going to borrow some of those funds. So that's
We're borrowing
taking
your cash. We're borrowing your cash to pay
Yeah.
our bills, and we're
Yeah.
putting it back.
I also don't think it's sound financial reasoning to institutionalize stealing from Peter to pay Paul. That's probably not sound bookkeeping. Oh, that's an American thingy. In other words, to institutionalize ideas of reaching into somebody else's pocket for cash when you need it, even though you are going to put it back. That tells me there's something wrong in the system.
So we have a funny accounting system in that we are a nonprofit foundation, and chapters aren't legal entities, so we can't really say we owe ourselves because that money is really owed to you, but you don't legally exist, so we can't say we owe it, but we do put it in our books that we have $1,020,000 dedicated to the chapters. But if we can't pay our bills, we have to use that cash. So it's a cash flow system. So I know that our presentation is a little confusing because we talked a little bit about accrual accounting and P&L. We throw all these numbers out there. But at the end of the day, we need a certain amount of cash to pay our bills. We need about $100,000 a month to pay all of our bills. We don't have that today. You have it dedicated to the chapters. And so we utilize that cash to keep us going and keep us funding, but we have to find a new system so I don't have to call you every year and say, hey, you know, we're $300,000 short in cash operating. We have to start utilizing your cash, but we'll give it back to you, and we always keep it dedicated to you. We don't change what is owed to you, we just utilize it. So we're taking a loan, and you're not getting any interest for it. But that's okay. Martin? Oh. Yeah, hold on, Avi has a follow-up.
I think that needs to be communicated a lot better. I know certain people in the community were shouting a lot because they felt that they were being taken from their conference.
Sure.
And it seemed clear that the discussion was being taken and reallocating that money. But you're just talking about moving the cash flow around.
Yeah. And
which is fine.
If anything does change, it's going to change in future. It's not going to change retroactively, and it'll change
a
after
cash
community
flow
input
issue.
and board
It's just a
votes and
cash-
all that other
There's
stuff
no
too.
bookkeeping change. We
Yeah.
owe you, your money is your money. It's just cash flow.
Then none of this is retroactive. It's like currently we're running in a course that isn't the best direction financially for these reasons we've outlined, and we want to make a course correction. And yes, guess what? We won't go in the same direction in future if we make that course direction, but we're not going to change what happened in the past. Absolutely. Yep. No, great question. I'm glad to clarify that.
Yeah. I'm Martin Koploch, one of the board members, chairman of the board foundation, and chapter leader in the Netherlands. The thing is, every company you have income and outcome. It's same for us. It's one OWASP foundation. The thing is, if you make a revenue, if you have local events and generate money, you are accountable for more because you have a state of reputation. You know what you do with money and you spend it. The problem is if you don't know or have money sitting allocated and we cannot use it. Every company will not like that. So you have income, you have departments that make more money and departments that make less money. And those departments who are making more money, you will make it easier and able to generate more money or do activities with those departments who have less money. You want to encourage them and enable them to make it be less successful. So there's not giving money or taking away money, it's always money, and those who have been responsible with the budget, they generate funds, they spend funds, that's okay. And the name budget is a bit awkward. So it's not a budget like I earn the money, this is my money. No, you are accountable for that, you generate it, so when you want to use it, there's no question about it. There's nothing settled yet how we will solve that, it's still an ongoing discussion, but it's, of course, when you have a chapter that is financially successful, they should be able to spend the money. Yeah. We all are a non-profit organization, so we are there not to generate more money, but to spend it, to enable it. So if you make more money, another chapter starts up and it wants to do something, we have to enable it. And I don't care how it gets there. If your chapter says, hey, I donated whatever 1,000 euros there, good. But we have to enable those who are not accountable yet for it. And we have to help you. What we have to be is we have to be responsible with the funds we have in general. When you have a successful chapter make money, we say, hey, I have 5,000 euros or US dollars for this. Of course, you make much more. There shouldn't be a problem because we know you have a reputation of responsible use of the money. If you're a chapter and you haven't done anything, you say, oh, I need $2,000, $3,000 to do this. I'm like, okay, let us know what you're doing and let us help you to be responsible with the money. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So I think we had, hold on, I want to go, Matt Bandana, okay.
I'll make her walk around.
Who are you and where are you from?
Hi, I am Vandana. I am from Bangalore chapter. Also, I am part of VIA, Women in AppSec. Alright. So on the funds part, there are chapters who actually do not have funds. How about them?
Lots of them.
Yes. Yes. No, on the same part, there are few chapters who are misusing it. They're dormant, but yearly they're taking out money.
Not if they're dormant, yeah.
There are few of them.
Okay. I don't want to call names or whatever. It's always a risk, what is it? We have money, and I rather risk losing 2,000 and enabling 10,000. It's a risk. But if the risk going high is we spend more money unresponsible for the little money we can spend afterwards, then we have a problem. So I don't care if I lose $500,000, $10,000 if I can make $100,000 useful. We have to look in the risk and how they spend it. I know there's some regions where we have problems with the chapters. They're creating a chapter and holding like private meetings, like, hey, we have a chapter meeting. And actually we find out it's just friends going out for lunch or dinner. That's not good. It's a risk we have, we always will have. In general, it's a very small percentage doing this, but we have to be able to detect it and prevent it. Because we all work and are engaged to make these funds, and it's really weird to have other people spend it in that way. But if you look in the whole of the OWASP, I know that people on this mailing list sometimes are abusive. If you look how many people we have 3,500 paying members, we have 10,000 of people being involved in OWASP, we have 5 or 6 people that are trolling. I think we are positive. We should focus on the positive and not on the negative.
Yep.
So we have lots of potential, we have lots of energy, we have lots of products and services, we have lots of regional events that are hugely, hugely popular. We have some that are on the cusp of being hugely popular. We just need to figure out how to tip the scales to keep pushing it up to the positive and ignoring the negative or looking away from the negative. So Matt Conde, you had some comments.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go into like deep financial detail, but I want to describe what it feels like as a board member for just a second so you can kind of get a feel for that. So over the last 4 years, OWASP went from something like $1 million a year to almost $4 million a year, 3.5, right? Which, given the industry we're in, is not that great, but it's not bad, right? But through that whole time, right, what it feels like is we don't have, so when we run an event like this, it probably costs, I don't know what, $500,000 to run this event? Okay,
More.
so a lot of that comes out up front, right? So we're paying a bunch, right? So like a budget, it goes like this. This is pretty normal cyclical things, right? So we have periods where we're not doing well, and we have periods where we're doing well. And that's just natural. That's how it works, right? I don't want to say I don't agree, because I think you're absolutely right, but I feel like we've done a pretty good job keeping stable. So I feel bad saying that we're not stable. We are okay, but we are not in a position to invest or do anything really interesting the way that we're operating right now. Does that make sense? So if I step back and I say, like, are we okay? Like, we could make it work. No, the industry is absolutely not languishing, right? But this 200K number is absolutely real, right? We could run out of operating money without really, I mean, we won't because of the cyclical. We're gonna be okay, but it's not great. Like if I could spend another $300,000, there's amazing things we could do, right? But we need to like figure out how to make that work if we want to grow. Does that make sense?
Can you just tell about the annual budget we had over the last 3 years? You said in the email.
I'm not sure I can summarize that off the top of my head. Sorry.
In 2006, our global revenue was $200,000.
Right.
We know what this year's global revenue is.
It's about 3.5.
3.5 million. Just imagine the size we grow globally.
But the other thing to think about is that reflects a lot more work just doing operations. Like there's a lot of other things just happening.
Yeah, staff has been flat for years.
Right. So again, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just sort of explaining some of the background around where we look when we say how are we going to make sure OWASP is in a really good place in 2020, right? Right now, it's like we can keep the lights on.
Can I channel Matt for a minute? Can I channel Matt for a minute?
We have to invest back into the foundation, which we have not been able to do because we've kept this money out here and we have not had the opportunity to reinvest.
Sorry. I agree with Martin, though. I think you will find there is no board support for taking money away from people who already had it, right?
There's no staff support for that either.
Right,
I mean,
but my point is that's total misinformation, right? That's never been on the table to say, we're gonna take money from you, right? That's never been something we even remotely talked about. So it's just kind of sad that that became part of a conversation, to be honest with you.
To me, fundamentally, I'm going to try to paraphrase what you said, is that, I know this is certainly true for me, I'm not happy with status quo. I want us to see us grow and get better and improve. But right now, we need a course correction for that to happen. And that's really, if I had to sum up this in an elevator pitch, that's what I would say.
And we don't know the
And then I
answer.
bumped it.
We don't know the answer, we're looking for help.
Yeah, and that's,
We have ideas, don't get me wrong, we're not trying to say we don't know anything.
but that's why we have had 5 town halls, because yeah. I have ideas, and I don't want to be the one in isolation making those decisions, because it's really the community. I mean, as a staff member, as a board member, when I was on the board, I didn't want to make those decisions, because it's not about a person, it's about a community of people.
So the $1 million plus clearly is part of the foundation's money, right? But the foundation should not have to rely on it. That should be chapter money over and above. The foundation itself should be self-sustaining. If it isn't, there needs to be a lot of emphasis on fixing that, and a lot of that's been discussed, but there's a lot of good ideas to raise more money. Part of it, I love your approach with the strategy, because there's a lot of misinformation. We try to raise sponsors, and it's very difficult, because we're not in the web application field. We could get hundreds of thousands more in sponsorship if they realized that we're much more than just, unfortunately, what OWASP stands for. We're not changing our name. There's too much brand recognition.
Yeah.
But we have to figure out a creative way to get the word out there that OWASP really stands for open software. But where's the W? I mean, so it's a challenge, but we have to figure out putting this on every chapter main page, the strategy, whatever's finalized, that what we're all about. We'll open it up for the sponsors, because if sponsors interested in working with us, they look at our page, right? And they go, oh, that's narrow and deep. I'm not in that field. I'm not interested in that. That's no good, right? So again, just a couple takeaways. The money's for the chapters, but also think of it, the banking industry. The banks don't have enough money. Think about the runs on the bank, 1929 stock market crash. They don't have enough, but they're sustainable, and it goes on. So we're sustainable. You want to take money from the chapters, but you pay us back? It's just cash flow, all right? It's not a big deal. This is just how it works in the real world, right?
Yeah.
So don't stress, but it's still, ideally, we want to be self-sustaining without chapter funds.
Yep.
That's the goal.
But we want to be open and transparent as to what our challenges are, so you guys understand as community members what the community looks like and what the foundation itself operates as. I come from a nonprofit world for 35 years where I'm not familiar with dedicating certain funds to certain areas. Everybody contributes. We're one big happy family. Some days you make the money to feed the family, and some days you don't, but you still eat as much as you need to. So we want to just... I hear you. I hear you. So we just want to be open with you guys that we are and I felt obligated as your executive director to call most of you who had the funds to say, hey, just so you know, we're using your cash to pay our bills because it's the right thing to do. But that doesn't mean that your cash has been depleted. That just means that we always keep what you have back with what you have. But we have to, as a community, find other opportunities for revenue investment. We also have to work with you as a community to really develop these global products that we have to be much more sustainable and much more revenue producing. And then we have to find other avenues to feed the funds and ensure that we also feed the funds of those around us, because we are one community. Martin.
I think what Richard said is really important. And the difference is it budget or is it locked? What you just said, it's the flow. We need the money, but it doesn't mean that the money is not available for the chapters. Of course not. We want to enable, we want to spend money, we want to make it bigger and better and spending it and having all these great things happening. It's just maybe not having it locked somewhere. We cannot use it for seeding this conference, for example. That's very important.
Yeah, question. Avi.
Was there another hand up?
Avi is.
Oh, Avi.
What? Oh, was it you? I thought you had your hand up. Yeah.
Rob?
That's all you, Avi. Go.
I haven't talked in a while, so I just need to hold the microphone. I'm kidding. Sorry for hogging it.
No.
Two things, just in response to what Richard was saying. Can we put a slash into the logo, OW/ASP?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I mean, that's a visual separation of
I don't know that
W
we're
and
the
A.
branding solutions may be beyond the scope of this
Yeah,
meeting,
absolutely.
but that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, no, that's not what I wanted to. I actually want to say that a lot. We're talking about, like, can we invest the money, spend the money for the community? I want to point out that it's not just the financial serving the community. That's where we get our finances from.
Yeah.
A lot of this, like, if it was just pure marketing, you'd get half as many sponsors because the product that we sell is not the projects. Those are very useful, and it's not the marketing value that they get from the conference, which is good. It's more of an excuse. It's the supporting the community. I would say probably about half the sponsors and members and corporate members are there to support the community, and the marketing they get might be an excuse to get the CAO to sign off on it. But that's
Right.
it.
One thing is about the name. I have many times that people say, "Oh, we don't do web, so it's not OWASP." Many years back, I said, "Why not calling it the history of application and security, or the open world of AppSec?" Because this time days everything is apps. It's not applications, it's not software, it's apps, isn't it? So make it the open world of AppSec. I don't care, but it's a problem. But going back to the other
Yeah.
one is, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
So the thing is, in general, what we stand for and how we work together. If I look in the OWASP, what we do, actually, it's really great. When I go to developer conferences and people come up to me and say, "Thank you for OWASP," I'm astonished, I'm humbled, like, sorry, I do nothing. I just do something and talk about the guidelines. So the project is what we are, the community is what we are. And that should be focused on. I see a lot of people coming up with problems they had. It's like, "Oh, I have this problem," and other people, "Oh, I had the same problem 2 years ago, 3 years ago." We are actually now getting more mature. With having Karen, being more mature community, it's improving. But when you're improving, it's not like we are standing here and we're going right up. First, we have the stall moment to clean up the problem we had in the past. So we have a ditch, and then we go up to improve. We are already a more mature and professional organization as we have been a year ago. We have a lot of changes in the staff. We have a more professional situation, and it takes time then to communicate it. And everybody here is professional. When you work, you sometimes forget what you talk about, what you work at. I have to beat my hand on my, as we say in Netherlands, on the breast, because it's my own fault. When I came chair of the board, I said, "Hey, let's be more public," and I really try. But you're busy. We have our private lives, we have our work lives, and we are volunteers at the board. But we have a great staff, and they're really improving it. But a lot of people looking back, like, "Oh, it has been really bad. 2 years ago, I had the same problem." Forget about the past. Look about forward, how much we can improve.
Yep. So unfortunately, you said forget about the past, and I have a slide that goes back to 2014 now. Boo. But here is what was in my head when I ended up creating this slide. Is I wondered, I knew that we at some point changed the splits, and I knew that the chapters had lots of funds allocated to them, and I didn't understand. I knew they had gotten big, but I didn't know how they had gotten big and what it looked like over time. So I asked Tom Pappas, who's the head of where he works for us from Virtual. He's kind of our CFO, de facto CFO, whatever. I said, let's pretend that we had $0 in chapter balances in 2014. June 1, 2014, $0 in chapter balances. I need you to give me a list of every cash inflow into a chapter balance from 2014 to 2017. And then I want you to give me a list of all the outflows of cash by month out of chapter balances from 2014 to 2017. And so if you see, I get to use my laser pointer, right? Green is, yeah, look, AppSec. But my suspicion was, it was kind of confirmed by this little bit of chart exercise, was that the chapters are doing this in terms of balances over time. We've grown this really largely, and I think it's cool that we're getting this money, and it's cool that the chapters are using it, but the problem is the burn rate of this cash is right around $200,000 a year. And if we suddenly stopped making any money for chapters today, 5 years from now, we'd run out. which tells me that like we're just pointing in a slightly wrong direction. And I want to figure out with the community how we can sort of and get this number to where it baselines, I don't know, around, we spent about 200, so let's have it baseline somewhere around 250, 270, somewhere in there. So there's always a good cushion for chapters, but we reallocate some of that to other parts of OWASP so that we can grow and mature and change. Yes?
Two questions. How do you suggest we do that? And also, how do we keep growing this much given that there's a 90-10 split between the foundation and the chapter?
So wait a slide or two. It's like you saw my deck, man. And by the way, these are suggestions and proposals. These aren't, because I don't get to decide this. At the end of the day, the board will come up with something and it'll vote on it, right? Based on community feedback and staff input and yada, yada, right? There's all sorts of crazy ideas, right? Completely eliminate the splits. Everything goes to OWASP, right? And we're one big happy family. Change the splits, right? Do multiple, there was a great suggestion from Richard actually in one of the town halls about having multiple different types of regional events because regional events aren't all the same. Cali's been going for years. You guys kind of pretty much have it down, right? But it's different from year one. Year one Cali was a lot different than this year's Cali because you guys were like finding your way in the dark. And some events are like that and some events are very mature. And calling them all events and having one single split kind of doesn't make sense because these guys kind of do a lot of stuff on their own. But first year events really need a lot of sort of hand holding and guidance. So I love that idea. That was a great feedback in the town hall. And so one of the things we were talking about doing was for global events, having the foundation like proper run those in conjunction with local chapters. But the idea is that we have a budget for the event. We have profit that we project that the event will make. And that additional, or that, excuse me, that projected profit goes to the foundation itself. And then any additional profit above what we projected will be split equally between chapter and project general funds. So numbers. If we say we're going to make $100 and we make $200, then we put $50 in the chapter general fund and $50 in the project general fund. And then these go to fund those projects and chapters that have nothing. Because right now when somebody asks me, I have to say, gee, I don't know. Let me give you some chapter leader names that have money in their funds allocated, or, you know, let me ask around, because that's right now what I'm kind of stuck with. And I'd love to be able to have a pool of funds that are just generally available for either projects or chapters, which are our two sort of core leadership groups. Something would go to the hosting chapter too, and that depends. Like, and none of this is squared away, so this is sort of theoretical right now. I mean, I would think that something would go to the chapters, but also like London, we just did, was a London chapter and a bunch of surrounding chapters, right? And this event is a bunch of surrounding California chapters. It's not just a location. So that's something we need to figure out, and I do want to incentivize local chapters, but also there's nothing to say that you in Israel can't help with the CFP for here in California, because guess what? It's called web, right? Like, it's an internet. We all like talking stuff, and location's not that important. So a lot of the things we've sort of mentally put into these regional or geographical buckets don't really have to be. Like, do we really need a team from California deciding on California's, you know, AppSecUSA that happens to be in California that year? Well, not really. Like, anybody at OWASP who's a good community member and, you know, wants to help out could contribute to like a CFP or a. So yeah, you do need boots on ground for volunteers and that kind of thing, and the Cali people have been fantastic for that, but not everything has to be localized to a team. And obviously, like, the other flip side of this is the foundation has to pick up a lot more of the grunt work of the conference that historically was way more on the teams. I mean, in the old days of OWASP, it was kind of like we gave you a budget and a plan and said, go off and do your event. And honestly, that was kind of all the foundation did back in the dark ages of OWASP, but that's really inverted right now, where there's not a ton of operational stuff we're asking, particularly for the global events, for the chapters to do. So that sort of share of the burden has changed. And then for local and regional events, the idea is to look at the splits, and this was what I was alluding to earlier about regional events having different sort of sizes and their need for foundation assistance. If you have a regional event that has been going on for a long time, you guys are pretty self-sufficient, great, like, you guys get a higher split. And if you're a new event and you really need some hand-holding and you've never done this before, we're gonna kind of nudge you to running a smaller event and probably give you a less of a split because we're gonna have to hand-hold you some to get that thing off the ground. And what those numbers and splits look like, I honestly don't know. And that's kind of why we're here. But I think that's a general good way to sort of turn the ship in the right direction.
I think this is well thought out. My concern is this does not leave a lot of options for chapters to raise funds for local security community. So one of the reasons that we participated very heavily, you know, the foundation's been great. You did all of the logistics. I didn't have to worry about a thing with like the hotel and the food and all the other stuff that I'm not good at. What we participated in was, you know, 150 hours of chapter leaders doing like, you know, proposals for talks and training and other stuff like that. So that 150 hours, the way that I figure is that helps us to do local security events. And the way I see it here is we don't really generate any money where I can contribute something towards like Day of Security, which is a San Francisco local event. It costs us $5,000 to sponsor. And, you know, eventually we're going to run out of money unless we have something to fill our purse, you know, with something like the global event or a regional event. And given the split you're talking about here, I would focus all of my area on the regional event, and I would not choose to spend time on a global event.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a rational decision under this model. Like, I wouldn't argue with that. If I were a chapter leader and I wanted to get more funds to do stuff with, doing a regional event, having a training day or a 3-day thingy or whatever you want to do, that actually makes a heck of a lot of sense. And I would encourage you to do that, because there's also some benefits to having the foundation run the global events just generally, i.e., we can pick things a couple years out. We can talk to the same hotel chain. We can actually pick geographic areas where not chapters willing to do it, but where it makes sense just to get the most attendance, right? All those kind of things we've sort of potlucked by doing a call for people who are willing to put on the event. What do you call that? A call for event runners?
So these are our #1 revenue producers to help us stay sustainable as a foundation. And so we have to kind of work towards that end, so that you guys can do your regional events and make your money and keep your money and operate your money, and we don't have to pay Peter from stealing from Paul or vice versa. So we want to be more mindful and more steward driven on what we're doing with our global events, because they're our #1 revenue producers. So we want your help with that. But we also want to encourage more community involvement. What has happened is, and I mentioned this earlier, is that we have 228 chapters. The $1 million belongs to about 20 of the chapters. So that's not an equitable distribution of funds and community. And so what we wanted to do was open up the global events to be a global community contribution experience. I see you, Martin, I gotcha. And so what we want to do is go to communities and say, hey, we'd really like to host a global event, but you don't have to carry the full burden. You don't have to run the whole submittable. You don't have to prepare the hands-on training between 3 people in your chapter. We can have someone from Norway, we can have someone from Orlando, and we can have someone from Detroit contribute to the educational programming and structure of this global event. We can have anyone, because we do it, right? We did everything virtual so far, right?
Yeah.
So this is
I met you at this event.
Global events, the global events planning is exactly an example of what the global events are, and that's the community coming together from all over the world.
Yeah.
So I would love to engage in that kind of concept, to bring the community together and let someone from Norway help us with the talks, help someone from Sweden help us with the training, help someone from Detroit, let someone from Detroit run the volunteers, and then what we want to do with you as a community is establish a reasonable surplus that will help the foundation pay its bills. And then anything over and above that, we will put into a pot that is dedicated to community, whether it's projects or chapters. And so there's a more equitable distribution of funding. So it's great. I know I've met some people from Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. You're in a great location. You can have a conference there. You'll make a ton of money with OWASP. But it doesn't really overall benefit the overall community. So how do we create this sense that we are all here for the community? And it's by redistributing the energy and the effort and bringing the community together and letting anyone who wants to contribute. And Martin will talk on the European model, which worked really well in London this year. We had Cambridge, we had Belfast, we had Dublin. I'm trying to think who else we had. We had quite a few different chapters contribute to the success of the event. It was huge. It was great. It was a great joining of the community, and that's really what we stand for, right? So that's kind of the concept, is to create these global events and have the global community drive the events and not have it always redistributed to the regional, local chapter. So we had long conversations with the chapter in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia about, could they conceptualize us coming to that region? And we introduced that concept, and they bought into it, and they believe in it, and I believe in it, and I know Matt and the team believes in it. So, as a community, let's all just rally around and make these global events the very best we can, and make a ton of money off of them, so we can redistribute it across the global community.
Well, and
So,
I have
Martin?
this vision of an idea of where we have right now we're slated to. Oh, come on! I've got the mic. Ha. No, but we're
Me
slated.
too.
We're slated to have 3 global events, right? And if we do them under this sort of conceptual model, right, we have 3 events that the foundation generally runs with a lot of help from the entire community. And I would love to see like 42 other Calis and Beneluxes and Snowfrocks pop up around the world, because all that means is we're getting even more people introduced to OWASP, right? Because not everybody can travel all around like I'm fortunate enough to do. Well, I mean, heck, OWASP pays me to do it, so it kind of works. But you get the idea, right? Like I would love to see a blossoming of regional smaller events happen at great scale. And I think this could happen under this idea or proposal or whatever.
First thing
Mark.
is, what you said, Travis, if there's an event close to you where you can sponsor OWASP or bring application security awareness, it costs $5,000. I don't care, and we as OWASP should not care if your chapter has the money. We should support you. We will support you. I think it's the most important thing. If you say there's a local event close by, it costs me $5,000 with a partnership event to go there and bring security awareness. I don't care if it's your money or foundation money. We should make it happen. That's what it's always about. It's the first and most important thing. The second thing is, when you do something like a local event, I did Benelux, I do it every year. I'm one of the many doing this. We think, hey, I found a sponsor, put it away, my work is done, and it's only the following up, the foundation does. The following up means signing contracts, putting in the money in account, chasing the sponsors, chasing the logos. We just talked a little bit earlier today, there's much more you might be aware of, doing all the stuff that actually the money comes to the OWASP Foundation and back to your chapter. And that's typical for everybody. You see like, oh, my work is done, it's small bits, and the small bits are much more than that. So yes, we have to be efficient on that. And we have to understand, and we have to be more transparent as a foundation, what we are doing and what we are serving to you. And when something is coming up next to your chapter and you think like, hey, this is called developer event or whatever cybersecurity blah event, $1,000, $5,000, whatever it takes, yes, that should be possible. And I don't care if the chapter has money or not. That is our mission, to go there and create awareness.
Oh, Conda, Matt had a.
So, first of all, I don't think we have an answer for this yet. Like, this is a proposal, right?
This is
just
a
an idea.
theoretical proposal. Yeah.
I want to just mention an idea that I raised in this discussion.
Sure.
That I thought was really interesting, but that I think doesn't work, which is to do this in a services model, where we price what the services that the foundation is providing to any event. We've somehow come up with a price for that, right? And if you're going to run an event, you just pay for what you use, right? And so that sort of made sense to me intuitively. I think, but I think it practically creates some of the same problems that we have now, and doesn't provide any of the upside of having common budget that can then be used for growth, right? Like it basically says we're not expecting the foundation to grow its budget, we're expecting the chapters to grow theirs. And there are positives to that. I'm not necessarily judging it one way or the other. I'm just saying this would be a whole other way to think about solving this problem. So I want you to know that we're trying to come up with different ways of thinking about this, and we want to hear from you about what you think would work well.
And I would love to grow all the budgets.
Oh, sorry. I want to hear Richard, because he's got the most profitable companies.
Richard has the most money.
Coincidence?
Look at his beautiful blazer.
I bought that with profit. So we want to donate to the Bay chapter. We want
Nice.
So,
You want a drink? Get it now, because the bar is shutting down.
Somebody get me a beer, please. So 2 works. I got lots of mass.
I can't compete with beer.
Harold can be my proxy.
No, I'm good. Don't worry about me. I got beer from the foundation.
Oh, that is like a.
So that's how we got elected to the board.
I remember that old junk.
All right, I have an important announcement. Excuse me. This is a very important announcement. Very important. Okay? Between 6:30, and obviously we're late, and 10 p.m., so there's still time, the Fairmont Suite 2021, there's tequila tasting.
After this, we're going there.
So when this ends, there'll be a mad rush. 2021, you got it? An unnamed vendor. I'm just sharing.
Hey man, go out and get pissed after this. That's fine.
All right, so let me
Well, actually, funny enough,
let me speak what I wanted to say, and I'll pass the mic. What? Attention. Attention. All right. No, I'm cool. So, first off, I'm happy with the team that's in place. That's a paid team right now. I think it's a really good team. They inherited a lot of problems, and they're taking a lot of heat, right? So give them some time. I think they're a great team. No, it's important. You know, I've talked to all of them. Not much to Harold, but you know, from what I see, he's doing a great job so far.
He's a talker.
Yeah.
just gotta
So,
get a few beers
so
in
get,
the
you know,
corner.
let's work together with them, right? They might have their opinions and they might express them strongly, but that's fine, right? Because they don't have the power to implement. I'm not mentioning names, but it's the board that really decides stuff, right? So give them a chance. All right, but what I wanted to really say, years ago when there was the Global Conferences Committee, we put together a project plan how to run conferences. We've used that as the Bible for AppSec Cali. Shh. And it's got about 70 tasks in it that have to be assumed by people. We do that ourselves in
Sure.
AppSec Cali. It's
Sierra
not
Nevada?
just LA. It's 5 chapters that all in California that get together and do this.
I'll take another one. Yeah.
So related to your comment, Matt, right?
Oh.
You can look at all those items, right? And you can create either a team.
I'm not doing that on camera.
I've seen that before, Richard.
Yeah.
I have absolutely seen
Right,
it.
it's the Bible. We can either create a tiered model or look at each of those tasks and come up with a percentage that goes to the foundation based on the amount of work the foundation does for the event. If the foundation does 60 of the 80 tasks, then they get 3/4 of the profit, and it goes to the foundation. If the local chapter does that, they get that, right? So in California, we're self-sustaining, right? And it's important because it's really hard, and this goes back to the whole issue of OWASP versus software. It's really hard for us to get sponsors for our monthly meetings. So we use the profit we get at the conference to sustain us all year long, right? So,
That's typical. Just so you guys know, that's very, very typical for regional events. They
Right.
have to make a certain amount of money to sustain themselves throughout the year. And Alaskon's leverage area is $10,000. They have to have $10,000 in Austin to survive. I don't know snow frost level, but that is the whole purpose, and that is a great purpose. That is a great purpose, and we support that, and we want to continue to support that. But what we want to do is lift it, because what we've also noticed, and I'm not pointing to you in particular, but we've noticed that regional events attendance and income has been flat, and expenses have been increasing. So we have to figure out why expenses are increasing, but attendance and revenue is not. So we need to work together as a partnership to figure out how to make the balance better, to increase more revenue, reduce our expenses, or keep
Yeah, we have to reinvent ourselves from a marketing perspective. A lot more
Yeah.
time and effort needs to be put towards PR and how we sell ourselves to the world.
Yep.
Right?
No doubt about it. That's on our strategy.
Currently, it's the more mature style. That's what we're working on.
The who?
Yeah, I sent a text. He doesn't like it. So when I was a leader in Dublin, what I did, I actually didn't spend any money. So I got sponsorship from a local recruitment agency, and I gave them like 2 minutes at the beginning of every meeting. So it might not be completely PC, but they paid for the venue, they paid for pizza, beer, and everything like that. So like there's always some sort of way around it. So you don't always have to bring in a shit ton of money to actually make your chapters work. So yeah, like I think we had like we were making money on sponsorship, and like every year we had over €6,000 a year that we didn't touch. So we were able to use that to, like, if we wanted to send somebody to a conference or even pay for a speaker to come in. Like it's beneficial to do those kind of things as well. So it's about getting relationships.
You have extra money to send to the Bay chapter.
Well, I'm not involved there anymore, but I can point you in the right direction if you want.
They don't want it, they left.
Yeah.
They got all the money, they left. Oh, no.
Who wants to speak next, or can we go?
I mean, it's kind of ironic to have a last slide be open discussion since we've been talking the whole time, but I'm not trying to wind us down, but I do have two peers here that are calling my name.
I'm very disappointed with this next speaker, actually, because he left the HUT group, and he promised me a discount ages ago, but he never gave me one. So
I think, we have big competition with the conferences compared to other big events, and the trend for those events are like, if you check Black Hat or DEF CON, the people who is attending those events, they have different mentality. They like to break and they like to see stuff, and that's the different from our conference. Our conference is different strategy. So, and also, we can't, my personal opinion, we can't never reach that level. So we need to find the alternative way to make money for foundation, right? So we can have other ways to do it, like proactively offering. I heard from
Kelly?
Yeah, so she was saying like corporate members are interested in training, offering training to them. So
Yep.
maybe we can sell as a training package or something like that, or some way to make other ways to money. Also, maybe many government institutions like Department of Homeland Security or a European agency, they are interested in the funding security projects, and there are many other private companies bidding like millions, and they are securing those projects, and we are expert in those kind of projects and areas. Maybe we can, we can win those projects, and we can find money in, for the foundation. So I don't think conference will be always a best way to rely on money. So yeah.
One good thing is we're in an industry that's making a ton of money. So the opportunity to get that money is great. We just need to reach out and grab it.
There's plenty of money for that there.
There's plenty of money out here. We just need to find the ways to reach out and grab it, and then share it and take care of one another and lift OWASP and keep OWASP in the path of the industry. We haven't been moving at the same speed as the industry, and we have to. And so we need your creativity on projects, on ideas, on conferences, on speakers, on tracks, on funding. We need it all. We need it all. We're only as good as the community that surrounds us. So feed us.
Your point about the competition is true, but one of the differentiators, a lot of the conferences now from these for-profit conference planners, they get vendors to come in and talk, and they might have one good educational talk.
We're not going to deplete our value.
Yeah.
Marketing talks. We have to differentiate ourselves in our marketing.
Of course
We are all about generic education.
Of course we are.
I was just going to say exactly the same thing.
We're open source community. We are open source community, and we are going to.
I was just going to say the same thing. Like, I don't think anybody here is saying, like, we're in a weird inflection point where we want to embrace the market and serve the market, but not be commercial, right? It's like a weird balance to walk that we're all struggling with, I want to just say. Like, it's not like easy to say we should go after these kinds of sponsors and not those kinds of sponsors, because we want all the sponsors. So what I would ask of all of you is engage with us in a constructive way to help us know when we're doing things that you're comfortable with and when you're not. Our differences are going to be manifest, I think. We're all going to have slightly different thresholds for where that feels too commercial for me. Like, I think, and I also appreciate what you said, Richard, about our new staff. I think Karen especially is taking us in a really different, good direction. Sometimes the language she uses is like abrasive to me, and I'm just saying that. But it's like, it feels like we're a business, right?
Maybe I need to jolt you back.
But we need a little bit of that, right? Like, it's a balance. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a balance between recognizing we have to look at those things, but we still want to be the open community that people come to because it's like the good people, the good place, the positive, like, people are donating their time and money and you feel home here. That's how I feel about OWASP, right? So we can't lose that, but we have to also see, like...
The abrasive side.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, we've got...
I balance myself, and I'll be honest, I'll balance myself between nonprofit-driven, sustainability versus open source community. I'm a huge open source supporter. I believe in the community. We are nothing without you. I know that. There's no doubt in my mind. If we didn't have the momentum of the community, we would be nothing. But we also have to be sensible that we are a foundation dedicated to 3,500 members and a mission and a vision that needs to continue regardless of what happens. If all the regional events drop out tomorrow, if the global events drop out tomorrow, we have an obligation to you as members to consistently provide you with what OWASP believes is our mission and vision. And we have to do that. And sometimes it doesn't sound very attractive to say, hey, yeah, no, you're okay.
No,
you're okay.
dead right.
Our conferences are a product. There's no doubt about it. It is a product that generates revenue that pays our bills. Don't be fooled by that. That is the fact. That is the fact. At the end of the day, without the funding, there will be no conference. Right? Right, Avi?
There would be conferences, they just look different.
How? Who can book a $500,000 hotel today without money?
You would not do that.
Okay.
It would be a lot different.
You'd be in the parking lot with a tent. I don't think so. Okay, I digress. Who has another question? The gentleman from Minnesota.
No, not Minnesota. The gentleman who's standing up, but I'm not sure where you're
I
from.
think he's from, where are you from?
No.
I thought you said St. Paul, Minnesota.
St. Paul is to the left. Give him the mic and let him tell us.
Okay, I'm first time, to attend this, and I come from Memphis, Tennessee. So yes, I'm not Minnesota. Anyway, so just a few comments. Okay, so I attended ISA conference and Black Hat USA, whatever, for many years. I think this is just my own opinion. So OWASP is more on to defend. Okay. ISA is more like sales. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Black Hat USA is like, I'm cool, I can break into your network or whatever. But as an employee of Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 company, my job is to defend. Okay, to play defense. So that's what I just attended a 2-day training, and I really appreciate the training because it focuses on defense. Not only hey, I'm cool, I can break into your network, but it also tell me all the vulnerability in our system, and how can I play to better play my defense role. Right? So I think that's how this conference differentiates from other conference. Okay, and another comment is on training. Again, so I come from a Fortune 100 company. Okay, we desperately need training on defense. Okay, so we can get training from science, but every class, so for every class, one people, that's now it's like 5,000, 6,000, right? So yeah, it's useful, but we want a training for like 50 people. Even for Fortune 100 companies, that's big money. But can OWASP provide the high quality at a lower cost? So we know that OWASP is non-profit, but I think this is a huge market, even for non-profit organization, right? Right, thank you.
Yeah, the money
One
we
thing
make goes
is
to the
ask
mission.
for professional services for less money. Open source is not about delivering professional service for less money. We are here to share knowledge and tools and guidance for free, not to deliver professional service for free. There's something different. There have been a lot of discussions in the past and currently about certifications. I'm one of those who is against it. We don't want to have trainings or competitive with our sponsors. We should be independent. This is a very difficult line to be in between. Yes, we have to make money. We don't want to be a commercial organization, and we want to enable. What we do actually, like in the conference like this, is our training platform we do. We enable people to do trainings for less money, but we don't deliver training services. I think that's very important. The moment we do professional services, we are not independent anymore.
Right, and to your point, I think one of the things that I love about OWASP is it's for practitioners, people that are in the trenches doing the work, and it is just flat, straight talk about this is my life doing AppSec, and this is what I do to make it better, and this is what I did that didn't work, and I've always loved that about OWASP. It's just very pragmatic, from a I'm in the trenches and I'm trying to get stuff done. I've loved that about OWASP.
Okay, but I do want to kind of come off Martin there too as well. It's just and this is obviously coming from Charlie. We get a lot of a lot of new members or new attendees that they're looking for that. What do I need to do if I want to be a penetration tester? What do I need to do if I want to be a practitioner, manager, whatever the case is, and they're looking for that training. And then unfortunately, mainstream is saying, "Oh, you need this certification." Okay, unfortunately, that's just reality. Okay, you need to have at least one or two certifications before the organization will take you seriously. Okay, and being that I grew up in an era where there was no certifications. Okay, and I just it was just self-taught, and you can do it. But unfortunately, we're in that area. So I don't want to say, look, we're not going to be able to train them to prepare our members or prepare our attendees on there. But but then at the same time, I do agree that we don't want to be that training platform just for certifications. But the whole idea is to here's the knowledge, okay, and guess what? It's free.
Can I do a quick show of hands? Well, Owen, you're next, but I want to do a quick show of hands. In deference to our wonderful AV people, can we stop recording this and just talk? Is that cool?
He wants to start cursing.
Yeah, let those guys push stop and move on. We're all good. Thank you. I told you 9:30 and I lied because it's 9:45, but hey, whatever, right? Thank you for doing this, by the way.